Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Eye Opener Society. You have me, Gary.
Me, Hannah.
And listen, I hope everybody, because when this episode comes out, I hope you sat back and listened to my live radio show, the live relaxing radio on Podbean. If you haven't joined us yet, please do go to eyeopenersociety.podbean.com. Top of the page is a link that takes you right to my radio show. Please sign up. And if you want to join in on the action and sit there and, chat with me and chat with the rest of the group, you can do so, but you got to download the Podbean app to do so. You don't need to if you just want to listen. But we have so much going on this month, and I think this is a nice little break. So, Hannah, we got something different going on for this because this is our first real two-part series.
Yes, yeah, it is.
If anybody listened to the show, you know how much I'm fascinated with UFOs,
for sure.
aliens, and me sitting out back, always looking up in the sky. I'm always photographing something. We have Sunset Child that does her podcast on our show, the Out There podcast, where she's into all the same things, and most of her podcast deals with the same subject matter. But one thing I found, no matter whom you talk to, everybody has a different theory on UFOs. Are they from outer space, further dimensions? Are they coming from, just a different realm? Or are they coming from right here?
Mm-hmm.
Are they alien to our planet? Or are they actually maybe just us? And you remember we talked about a few episodes where I said, why is it that human beings, we just don't seem to be adaptive to this planet?
Yeah.
We got to hide from the sun, hide from this. And why is that unless we are not from this planet? So I had a lot of theories, and we were contacted by Leslie and Stephen Shaw, and they are authors of the book, Who They Are and What They're Up To. And I immediately purchased this book. I read it, and it was a real page turner, and it made so much sense to me. I love the style of writing, and I sat and I got over there like tons of sticky notes because I was doing this while I was at work.
It's tons.
It is. And I took all these notes down because there were so many interesting things, so many things I didn't even know about. And that's what I love when you talk to people who are into that same subject matter. You get that feedback and you start finding more things out about, the subject matter. And I was floored by all this.
Hell yeah. Yeah, you were. You were so excited.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, he's so giddy.
Yep. So I want everybody to go out there and purchase this book, Who They Are and What They're Up To. Go out there and get it. And we're going to talk to the authors right now. Leslie and Stephen Shaw, how are you both doing?
Hi, Gary and Hannah.
Thank you so much for asking.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, it's our pleasure.
Yeah, welcome to the Eye Opener Society. I like for you guys to start off. I mean, I said you guys are the authors, but every author starts somewhere and why they wrote on their subject matter. Could you guys give a little background on both of you?
Sure.
Talk about your background first.
Okay.
All right.
I was a journalist for the last 20 years. And I'm the writer in the family. I'm of course, Steve does some writing too. But Stephen his family were more the experiencers of the phenomenon. They were the ones targeted by the alien abduction phenomenon. And also Stephen is a medical man. He has a much stronger education in sciences than I did. And I desperately needed his help, with geology papers and medical journals and stuff. So we were actually a pretty good writing team.
But Leslie also, she went to Cal Arts and she had a minor in ancient art history and also a major in experimental animation. And she's had a lot of experience both in television and also in newspaper writing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's actually very, very intelligent. And so we make a good pair. She tends to forget that how much she actually knows. So for myself, I grew up in a family that grew up in wartime England, in Manchester and Oldham. They're getting all the bombs dropped on them and all that. My dad joined the RAF Royal Air Force when he was 18, did 2 years of that. Then he was a Bobby, a cop, basically, for 4 years after that. And then my parents, they moved to California. My aunt and uncle had already come to California. They said, "Hey, come over. California's great." So my family, especially on the female side, for 4 generations, going back from Germany to England and then to California, they almost all the women in the family were what you call automatic writers. Okay, they would go into a trance, generally not what they tried to do, but they basically felt like they had to write.
Yeah, they'd feel like an urge to.
They feel like an urge. And I certainly saw my mom do it on several different occasions when I was young. I mean, she knew about people that had died, her mother, her father, and her uncle Clifford. And we were, when I was 9, 10, and 11 years old, she told me, she picked me up from school one day and was just bawling and said, "Mommy, what's wrong?" And she said, "My mom just died." And I said, "Well, did you get a call?" This is 1969, by the way. Mm-hmm. Okay. So no smartphones, nothing like that. Right. And so, she said, "No, Old Glegley, who I was told from being the age of 3, Old Glegley was our family protector, family spirit guide that had been with the family for quite a long time. Since then, we found out different things about that. But anyway, so yes, so about a day later, we got a call from England saying that her mother had slipped down some cobblestone steps and re-broke her hip, and she died from the complications. And this happened again and again. So, this family spirit guide protector, I grew up from the age of 3 knowing about this. It wasn't until my brother in 1982, who is no longer with us, when he was 16, he saw what this description of Old Glegley was. Always described as a tall, skinny, about 6.5 feet tall entity that frequently would appear as being black, sometimes wearing a hat, and would help people sometimes and would save their lives on occasion. He saw this entity as a tall gray. And this was, we weren't like reading anything about science fiction at that time in 1982. And so, but I had seen this entity also when I was 18 in 1979 in January, but the entity appeared as a tall, skinny, blue-white being that was shimmery, that brought blue-white light in with it into the house when I was sleeping on the couch. I was sleeping on the couch because I had become afraid to sleep in my bedroom because of what had been happening.
Yeah, all kinds of bizarre phenomena.
Yeah. This is stuff that was happening at the same time with my brother and my mom, who were living at a house that we were actually building ourselves because we were cabinet makers and carpenters. We were building a house up in the woods in Sonora, California, which is 350 miles away. And my dad, my sister, and I were working the job as cabinet makers in Woodland Hills, California. And we were having experiences at the same time. So anyway, make a long story short, this entity approached me at 5:30 in the morning in mid-January of 1979, paralyzed the right side of my body, and whispered in my right ear, not in my head, whispered in my right ear, said, "Hi, Steve." Oh, just kind of in a whisper. And a part of me was saying, "Oh, I'm going to see the family spirit guide, Old Glegley, that I'd heard about." And then the other half of me was saying, "Dude, you can't move. You can't even open and close your right eye. Your right eye is open, but you can't close it." And so I was trying to strain to try and see the face, but I was definitely awake. It wasn't any sleep paralysis or anything like that. So anyway, so the entity, I guess, figured that's all it wanted to do, or I was too afraid, whatever. And it went back out the front door with the blue-white light. And then I just black out. So again, 6 hours later, it's 11:30 in the morning. My dad and I are getting hungry. We're workmen, right? So I reached into the right side pocket of the clothes I've been wearing when I went to sleep. I pulled out the coins and I put them on the table, and all the coins were all magnetized. Okay, these are standard American coins, 1979, and I could pick up the coins by whatever angle, the side, the edge, it didn't matter. There were a couple of nails in there too, but that's no big deal. 6-penny nails are easy to magnetize, but the coins you can't do. My dad could pick them up. I could pick them up. And we did not know what to think.
Yeah, it's supposed to be impossible to magnetize coins.
But this was like something that had been happening in the family. Strange stuff like this.
And then they would black out. They'd see something bizarre and then black out, lose consciousness.
So, so then about the age of 30, 31, I decided to do some of my own research because of another event that had happened that I just could not explain. And I thought, you know what? There's got to be more to this than just a family spirit guide. So that's when I started doing it. Then, so the motivation for reading the book actually really happened when Leslie saw her first UFO.
Yeah. Being the writer in the family, had to do most of the outlining and the work and the typing. I didn't decide to write it until I'd seen my first UFO too. I believed him. It's not like I didn't believe the stories he was telling me, but there's that like little kernel 5%. Of doubt. Yeah, a little tiny kernel of doubt until you see it yourself, right? And Steve is he saw 3 UFOs before I saw my first. And it was in Joshua Tree, driving at night. He was in shotgun and I was driving, and I looked through the windshield up ahead and saw a white light in the sky that was about twice as bright as Venus.
Yeah, we both saw it.
And it kind of looked like a plane coming into Palm Springs Airport at first, but then it didn't have the running light, blinky lights, and it stopped behaving like a plane. It stopped over the highway that we were on and just got brighter and brighter and brighter. It was hovering. And then it took off over the northern horizon and gone in less than a quarter of a second.
It kind of like a trail behind.
Yeah, it was so fast that visually it streaked out into a line that collapsed in on itself. And I thought, well, there's many things that can be a white light in the sky, can be any number of things. But when it moves at 20,000 miles an hour from a dead stop to at full speed, it's not like it ramped up to 20,000. It just suddenly shot away at that speed.
And then we saw our most recent one.
Let's not go into any more UFOs, because this is the reason I decided about then. I said, we really have to write a book, A lot of, we'd seen every UFO program in that television or movies or whatever.
And read a lot too. I started reading back 35 years ago.
Had to offer, and I kept seeing these people looking up at the sky going, who are they? Why are they taking me? Why are they abducting me? Why are they murdering my cattle? Who are they? What do they want? And I kept seeing this lost look hundreds of times with these people. And I thought to myself, well, we have a theory. Let's share our theory, And so that's when we decided to write it.
Yeah, we're going to get into the theories too on the second part. I wanted to save that because there's a lot to talk about with that. But for right now, your book, who they are and what they're up to, real quick, where can people get that?
It's on Amazon, and it's also on Ingram. And that bookstores prefer Ingram. So both platforms have it, and easy to order there. Cool. And we are on Instagram, but that's not where you get the book. But we really like people sharing their experiences with us on Instagram.
We have a lot of reels and stories also. Too.
And we're at leslie.shaw.author, and Facebook as well, the same handle.
Yes.
And we have a website, whotheyarebook.com.
I got some of my original music there on too.
Yes. So. Stephen, he skipped over his own credentials. Stephen was a Tai Chi master and an acupuncturist by profession. Mm-hmm. He's retired from acupuncture now, but and he's an orchestral musician, a brilliant musician. But all those years, his family is ridiculous psychic. I can't begin to explain how psychic they are. He's constantly pulling my thoughts out of my head.
Sometimes words that don't even exist.
Yeah, and frankly, it's annoying. Cut it out. No, I'm just kidding.
And that's what I actually liked, because when I first started reading the book, the first chapter did open up where you had explained all this. And that's what I really enjoyed, because in my own world, I'm the same way. I'm very much into meditation. Most of our podcast is about meditation, the mindfulness and relaxation. And people don't realize, when you do get into these deep meditative states at times, you are opening yourself up to, say, other worlds. I guess that's the best way to really explain it, because we live in this three-dimensional kind of world that everybody knows, and it's so easy to get around.
Yeah.
But once you're meditating, you realize just how much more there is to life, to the world, to yourself, to your own being. And I appreciated reading that, because it did open up some doors, even to me, where I heard theories that a lot of aliens use that as a portal, and that they're coming from another dimension. And these are thoughts that I even had. But then I had that same question: if they're coming from other worlds, how are they surviving in our atmosphere? And then that's
right.
Your theories, which we will get to. Your theories kind of a lot up for me, and I really did. I was like, "Oh wow, Hannah, you got to read this book."
Yeah, no. I have a kiddo. I don't know if you guys have listened to any of our shows, but I talk about him quite frequently, I would say. And so I'm like, I will find time to read it. I tried to read a little bit of like cliff notes about the book, but I haven't gotten to read it yet. But I'm excited to read it. It's just something that. It's Gary's passion. So I always like to have an open mind, and, he goes into my passion sometimes. So I definitely have to return the favor. And, he explained it, the book to me a little bit, and, he was just like raving about it. So hats off to you guys, because you guys,
thank you so much.
Yeah. Wrote a book that completely just like had him floored. So.
Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
also for
That's
our audience,
cool.
we're going to have all of the links in the synopsis to the show. Also follow us, where you can purchase the book, and also on our Facebook. Don't forget, if you're following us on Facebook, don't forget going to our group page, because that's where we have most of our posts now, because I got tired of running two separate things.
And of course, the documentary that this dropped.
Oh yeah,
too.
I forgot.
Yeah, definitely the documentary. I did just read. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about the documentary?
It was kind of funny. We were at Big Bear
July
for
4th.
the July 4th festivals, and we had a little booth with our sign and trying to sell our book, and a lot of people were laughing at us, I think, because it's the subject it is, right? Yeah. And it was kind of a bust. We only sold one book.
Yeah, one book for
and then this guy walks up and hands us his card, and he wants to do a documentary on us, and it turned out to be wonderful. It dropped last Friday. We love the production quality. It's called Who They Are. And
it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube with what's the Sky
Island Storytelling.
Sky Island Storytelling. Thank you. And also anyway, and it's got like almost 150,000 views now. That's amazing. It's really been taking off. We're so thrilled.
Yeah, it was 100,000 views in like almost 24 hours. So
that's amazing.
It is amazing, and I watched it, and it was very good. And it's great because I know a lot of people nowadays, for whatever reason, they don't like to read anymore, and I love to read.
Yeah,
but watching this YouTube, it actually summarizes a lot of the book. So this way you get an idea, but if you really are into it, you really should read the book, because I think there's so much more. And I will make sure I have a link to that too, because Leslie and Stephen, you guys went from that fantastic documentary right down to our production value, which is zero. So I do apologize for that. We don't have much.
We were shocked at just how good it was.
Yeah. We weren't expecting it, but when I started writing the book, I thought, I have to assume that some people are going to pick it up that know nothing about UFOs, right? And then other people are going to pick it up that know everything about UFOs,
right.
And so the first two chapters, I kind of had to do a crash UFO course, they're almost in bullet points, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. If you want to a short version of the UFO history in the United States of America. It's a good source for just that. But then we're able to get into our theories in chapter 3 and start. Now we've brought everyone up to where at least they know something about the UFO phenomenon in our country, and now we can begin to discuss our theories.
Interesting thing here that because you're into meditation, obviously, and into there's more dimensions and more frequencies.
You can tell Elizondo's thing.
Oh, I'm going to tell a couple things here.
Okay,
if that's okay. As an example, I'm still very in touch with even precog type stuff. Okay. And every once in a while, I will have these things happen, right? So this gentleman, Jeremy Norrie, who was going to come over and do the filming, which he did a great job. He used 2 cameras, one black and white, and then one color, as you noticed, right? Well, 2 days before he came over, this had met the guy like on July 4th, right? So anyways, I told Leslie, said, I had this dream. I was sitting down with Jeremy at our table, and it was very specific. I said, ask him these 2 questions, and she can back me up on this. I said, he's going to be going to Arizona very soon because he's got a need to go there, and he's got something going on with his left shoulder area. There's pain going on there. I said, please ask him this. Okay, so it's not like any mentalism type thing. And as he was setting up, I said, I had a dream, and Leslie wants to ask you these 2 questions. And sure enough, he was planning on going to Arizona like almost immediately.
For his next project.
And he had been over exercising, and he had hurt his left shoulder and his left chest. I literally had a conversation with him in the dream state or the lucid dreaming state. I still get this stuff to this day at 64.
Wow. You're very in tune, which is great. That's phenomenal, and I think it's important that you hold on to that and make sure you never try to close that part of your, it's a gift. Don't close that because it's a very powerful gift.
We, for many years, decades, we've been saying that there's a connection between psychic abilities and the UFO phenomenon, or the abduction phenomenon. And I have actually read many accounts where people, they look up in the sky and they see a UFO cruising across, and they think to themselves, "Oh my God, a UFO!" And then the UFO reacts to them seeing it. It stops and starts to come towards them. It's like they can sense when they're being observed. And sure enough, this came out recently. Luis Elizondo's new book, he says, he was with the government's ATIP program, and he was saying that we've done MRIs on abductees, and their brains are very similar to those with ESP or remote viewing abilities. So there's definitely a connection. It's one of these things where I think they are targeting people with extrasensory perception.
The actual area is called the parahippocampal gyrus. Okay.
Gesundheit.
And Gesundheit. And it's just something that, some people are wired just a little differently. Some people have the ability, and also too, like meditation, like what you do and like what I've done and still do, is like you have to slow down the brainwave frequencies to even have a chance. Like, right now we're at 30 to 40 cycles per second because we're on video. But, you get down to doing meditation, you can get as low as from 2 to 4 cycles per second, in the deep delta. Tai Chi, you get down to about 11. So moving meditation, it's a really apt description for Tai Chi, moving meditation. And the different parts of the world open up. It's the truth.
It
really is.
And I'll tell you this too, before we go on to the second half, being that we're connecting meditation with this, and Hannah, I know you heard me talk about this all the time. I'm not sure if you're in the field and, you study, have you heard the name Dr. Stephen Greer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. He's the same one. And what I found so amazing with his show, when he said the same thing, he says, in order to see these things, you have to be in this ultra meditative state. And that brings these beings. Now, I'm not so sure like where these beings are coming from, if they're coming from other dimensions or just exactly what they are, because I think there's a big difference between what you guys wrote about in your book and as far as your theories as to far as what's out there. And we're going to be getting into this, but I wanted to wrap up this first one. But before anybody goes anywhere, make sure you go to Amazon.com and check out the book, Who They Are and What They're Up To. And it's by Leslie and Stephen Shaw, who are on the show. And we really appreciate them coming on our show here. We are going to have this as a 2-part series. So we're going to come back and bring you the second half of this, where Leslie and Stephen are going to talk about their theories, which I find were absolutely amazing. And they got some great, ideas that actually make sense, that might make you kind of a believer if you are a skeptic. Because one, I believe there's something out there for sure. But I always question whether they were from out in another planet, universe, or wherever. But more and more, I'm believing they are from here, Earth. Earth is their home base, and we may be byproducts of them. So that's what we'll be getting into on the second show. So, Stephen, Leslie, I want to thank you for joining us on this here episode for sure. And we're going to be coming back. We're going to be doing a second one. And if you haven't, again, don't forget, eyeopenersociety.podbean.com. Don't forget to check out my live radio show. Halloween, Anne Lund.
Yes.
Anne Lund's got her show
So
coming on.
excited for that.
Yeah, so Anne Lund's going to be, and at some point, hopefully by now, I heard from Sunset Child with her episode of Out There. And also don't forget to listen to Arcane Oracle podcast. If you haven't, it was on the first. She done another amazing show.
Phenomenal, as always.
As always. So I want to thank everybody for joining in tonight. And don't forget, you're going to have a second part to this here series. And we'll be talking about the theories of what Leslie and Stephen Shaw believe as far as aliens and coming from our own planet. So we'll see you on the next round.
See ya.